Professor Ryan Cole. I'm from the University of Queensland, and I'm the Chair and Director of UQ Cybersecurity. Every day we get to do a bit of research, a bit of teaching. So some of the teaching I do is I teach a course called Fundamentals of Cybersecurity. The other lesser known roles of an academic is that of a scientist. So we look at the recent developments, some of the main problems in cybersecurity research, and we try to address them head on by doing some proofs of concepts. We also engage with industry. So with the industry, we set up laboratories, we set up what we call digital twins, where it's a simulation of what is happening in real life. So one recent example is the digital twin for energy production and consumption. So we have an energy test lab which was in partnership with companies like Siemens and so on, where we set up a full laboratory full of power plant and power producing and control equipment that can then be used in a test lab to test for cybersecurity threats and energy production. The reason why we have that is because it's impossible to shut down a power plant to get such experiments running. So we have to simulate that in the university environment, and those laboratories can serve as a laboratory for students or industry to work on. Yep. So I didn't really aspire, because this field didn't exist. Yeah. So I think this is a typical situation now. This for many, probably many of you who are listening to this right now, some of the jobs wouldn't exist in the future, but they happen. So when I was in the high school before going to uni, in between, because I'm born in Singapore, so we had conscription. So I had like two and a half years to think about it. I got into engineering, and it was generic engineering, going towards electronic and electrical engineering. And then what happened was during my military service days, the conscription days, I had time to think. And at that time, it was the late 1990s, and there was a drive towards using computers. There was also some global drive towards mobile devices. So as a result, we get. I was looking around, and I think probably the world will be very dependent on computers. So I chose computer engineering. So I switched from electrical and electronic engineering to computer engineering. Towards the end of my degree, got a job in systems engineering in a semiconductor company. So they were making chips, the electronic chips, not the potato chips. Right? So so the whole process made me interested in the intricacies, and through that I also saw some cybersecurity situations and problems that we had to rectify. One thing that I was more interested in was the nature of doing research. So I contacted my university professors, and they advised me that probably you should do a PhD. So I went to do a PhD degree, and the PhD degree opened up more opportunities. And towards the end of my PhD, I joined quite a global competition, and I won the first prize. And during that competition, one of the judges was from Hewlett-Packard Labs, which makes the future products of HP. So HP at that time was like the Google now, right? So, and they came and shoulder tapped me for a potential computer scientist job. So of course I said yes, right? So I went to join them as a computer scientist, and in the process, I got into the lab, and they were doing something which was new at that time. So they were trying to do something like what is called cloud computing at that time, and now it's mainstream. So that's more than 10 years ago, they were saying, because we are inventing the future products of cloud computing, what are the best and products to put out there to solve the biggest challenges of people using the cloud. Trust and security and privacy are going to be the main issue of using cloud computing. And that brought me to look into this area as a research area. So I created some of the, with my team members, we created some of the HP products, which basically addresses some of the accountability issues, so you can know what goes on behind the scenes. We can track the data flow. We can, some of the projects include helping the US IRS to track the tax evasion and tax fraud. So all this magic behind the scenes are actually considered by computer scientists. And that brought my interest into cybersecurity. And about the third year of my HP Labs days, I had already experienced from idea to product, and then the product being sold to the world because HP has a global audience. I went to speak to my professor again, and I said, I'm really enjoying my work. I get to go to Silicon Valley for a few months. I get to go to Bristol in the UK for a few months. And then I get to go to, I'm based in Singapore, so I get to see product ideation, creation, and then the engineering and the deployment into the world. So I'm quite enjoying my job. And my professor looked at me in the eye and said, I think you need to remember the first day you stepped into my office, what did you want to be? I said, yeah, I wanted to be a professor. So one of my mentors, she said to me, I think now is the time for you to apply for academic jobs overseas. In the end, I got a position in New Zealand, where at the University of Waikato. At that uni, I had a chance to create the nation's first cybersecurity master's program. And one thing led to another. We created the national competition for cybersecurity. And then eventually I had roles where I could advise the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet in cybersecurity policy, and I wrote the curriculum for the New Zealand Level 6, which is equivalent of Cert 4 here in TAFE. Yeah, so and then UQ came calling, and so I came here to UQ to work. So I had a Bachelor of Engineering, Computer Engineering with honours. If you choose a degree, I strongly recommend you to do the honours degrees. And after that, because of my honours degree, I was able to go into a PhD straight away without going to the masters. So those are the two main qualifications that I had. You've got to know the fundamentals of how things work, which is devices and computers. So you would want to go into like the basic courses that are free online, like Khan Academy and a few other things that you could try and see how you can pick up those simple coding skills. You shouldn't be too religious about the programming language that you're going into. I see some young people, they say, I'm a Python guy, or I'm a C, they're all tools. Because when you are a professional in the future, new languages will appear. What you want to know is the logical concepts and the techniques behind those constructs of the language. The mindset to be always open-minded to opportunities, having empathy with people. When I was in the high school going to university days, I felt that one day I'll be working in some white-collar job. So I tried all the blue-collar jobs that I could think of. So little did I know that this kind of little interactions and doing those part-time jobs has helped me to develop a deeper sense of empathy, so that I can, relate to the people I work with and work for. The technology makers have been more dominant, and then the lawmakers and the policy makers are starting to realize that a lot of things are not done in the right way. Like how data is collected about us by big tech companies, but not really accounted for in many ways, or the privacy of individuals, or the proliferation of online abuse. Those kind of things went unchecked. So now we are seeing the awakening of these things. So if I was to choose a direction in a career, I would focus on the intersection of criminology and cybersecurity. And now my researchers and I, we are working on techniques where we can apply traditional criminology techniques to do interventions into cyberspace. But that's not enough. We need a whole generation of people who are aware of that. We need to arrive to the point where the judges in the courts, right, are empowered with the knowledge to make decisions, to bring justice to some of the people who have committed cybercrime. We also need lawmakers who are able to understand the intricacies of how data is now a commodity that is being traded, and how do we make laws to protect the civil liberties of people. If I was in the high school stage, I'll be looking at the cross between criminology and cybersecurity. Another area that I want to encourage is to look at techniques which can, look at inventing things that can help people to help themselves with cybersecurity. Yeah. If you can do that, then you have unlocked kind of a very big opportunity. You can stand to become the next Bill Gates of the security era. Why I say that is because you see the transition from mainframes into personal computers. That was a personalization of computing. Now, if we can make security personalized, and the personalization of security is put into the hands of everyone, and yet you can, make some revenue model around that in an ethical way, then you're going to be the next Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, and so on. So that's the entrepreneurial opportunities there. Try to discover your purpose, and you have to try your best. It's a lifelong journey, but you try your best to understand, what your superpower is, and what your passion is. And when you go into that, you will surely succeed. I mean, not everyone is made to be a Steve Jobs or a Jeff Bezos, right? If you believe strongly in a certain skill set and you believe you have a talent for that, go for it.